right. Okay, so I guess we'll just start this. So, hello. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to this first inaugural episode of the Level Select podcast with me, myself, and this gentleman here. If you're an audio listener, you can't see him, but I can see him.
Don't worry, he's not talking to himself.
My name is Evan. That there is Jordan.
Hello.
And we're gonna talk about some video games here on this here Level Select podcast. So to start us off, I'm gonna run through a few of these headlines we've got in my document. A couple of news items of the past week. So first thing I have here is the HalfLife Alyx NoVR mod that has come out now. I believe this mod is actually available. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it. One, because my PC isn't great, but I wanted to talk about this less specifically about the mod, but more relating to bringing a game like Half-Life Alyx to people who don't have VR headsets.
It should be an option anyway.
Yeah, I have not played Half-Life Alyx, and it is one of those, like,
it's a great game.
I have heard.
It's a good game.
Given that it it was up for Game of the Year nominations. I'm pretty sure it did get a Game of the Year nomination, I think.
I'm sure it got a Steam award anyway.
Oh,
I'm sure. I think it got the best VR game of that year. And yeah, big old
that sounds
pat
rigged.
in the back. Yeah.
That sounds rigged. What should we give the award for best VR game to? Oh, how about the VR game that we released?
Yeah, Gabe is sitting there in front of his knife collection, like,
But yeah, I think it's cool that modders have been able to do that, because I think that is something that, if my if my PC were better, I would actually try this out and try to play it, but it's not that great, so there's not even a hope of me actually releasing or of playing this, getting a chance to play it. But I think that's something that's cool. So this article is from Kotaku. Ash Parrish was the one who wrote it. I'm just reading the first line here. Half-Life Alyx is a phenomenal game. But because we are only large swaths of gamers.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. As anybody who's been on the internet for the last, 15 years would know that Half-Life 3, or 10 years, would know that Half-Life 3 is a massive, massive underlying tone of internet comedy. Ha ha ha, Half-Life 3. It's coming, it's announced. Ha ha ha, April Fools. So when this got announced, I knew I was going to buy VR. I couldn't help myself. And when I started kind of looking into VR and all this there was like, what came out recently then? It was the Index, Valve Index, which costs you over €1,000. And then you need a PC powerful enough, which would cost you over €1,000. None of that was happening. So happily, I got my hands on a second-hand one that this elderly gentleman bought and didn't want anymore after he tried it. So I got it. I luckily got it right there. I got it for about like half price. I got not the Valve Index now, I got the HTC Vive. So playing it on that was amazing. I had to get the Valve Index Knuckles controllers, the finger tracking controllers, just to get all that little fine detail. But a fucking phenomenal game. It sold me on VR. It's the best VR game there is.
Okay, so I was just about to ask you then. So you didn't have VR before? It was Half-Life Alyx was the thing that made you get VR.
Mm-hmm. I was into VR anyway for years, following Oculus and HTC when they were partnering with Valve and everything. But as soon as Alyx came out and they had that trailer, there's a part in the trailer where she's like peeking behind a corner and like boo boo boo, and then to find some more ammo, she just digs her hand into a shelf and moves all the bottles out of the way and grabs the. I was just like, the physical presence alone in that game has sold it. Never mind the fact that it's another Half-Life game. Just the fact that, my God, it's a new level of immersion that they sold.
That's the thing. So again, like, yeah, I haven't played the game, but I've only kind of seen that trailer now. I haven't seen it recently. It was back when it came out. But that is definitely something that it kind of came across as, was that it wasn't like, kind of VR games up until that point kind of seemed like, I don't know if gimmicky is the right word, but they kind of just, they didn't seem...
I don't want to be mean, but kind of tech demo.
Yeah, I guess.
Not necessarily in-depth stuff, but showing off like, ooh, it tracks your hands. And it's like, okay, but we want just a couple of steps further than that.
And watching that trailer, that definitely came across. So this was doing something that VR games up until that point haven't done. And like you're saying, that kind of immersion. Like, I think, like, I've seen, I think it was in that trailer maybe, where does at one point does she reload the gun by just like throwing the mag and then like sliding the, like catching it midair into the gun, that kind of stuff. It's the idea of like, it's the idea of your like, things should just work the way that they work in the real world. It's like, oh, that probably, like, in real life physics works this way, it should probably work this way. Let me check, and then you're like, oh my God, it does. It's that kind of stuff is definitely a reason why I would love to try that game. So I think this the existence of this no VR mod is pretty cool. But I'm kind of surprised that they haven't actually, like, okay, I have two questions for you. One, are you surprised that Valve themselves haven't released a non-VR version of the game? And two, do you think do you think that a non-VR version of the game is warranted? Like, forgetting about like the people who can't play it because it's in VR or whatever. Do you think the game is something that can, like, you know, makes more sense in VR, or would it, like,
is it more tailored to VR? I mean, like, to go through the two questions, I would guarantee, even back then, that Valve would never make a non-VR version, right? Purely because when Alyx came out, it sort of put the whole Half-Life series in a different frame of mind. With Half-Life 1, what was that? 1997? 5? No, not 5. Or no, it I think it shipped with Windows 95 or 98. So maybe 1998. Let's
me
check myself.
Half-Life.
So that came out 1998.
Oh.
Yeah, it was released in 1998 to Windows.
1998 in Windows. Yeah, there you go.
So it came out in 1998, and that was on the precipice of Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, of going into the 3D realm of controlling characters, playing shooting games. And then Half-Life 2 comes out years later, and that built itself on the new technology of real in-game physics. So, like, when you're playing Half-Life 2, a lot of the starting areas are like placing fucking bricks on the ends of a plank so it lifts up and you can stand on it and jump over. It's physics puzzles. And they were like, that was mind-blowing at the time. So when you start hearing Valve coming out and saying like that they don't want to just do another Half-Life game for the sake of adding to the series, they didn't only wait, actually, they kind of pushed for the innovation that they need that's worthy of a Half-Life game. So I can understand, and I'm totally for the whole idea of making a non-VR version from the fans, because it's such a fucking great game. And the story alone, if you love Half-Life, you love the story of it. So that'll get you through it, but you're missing a big chunk of what makes HalfLife Alyx. I mean, I'd mentioned about the physical presence when you were digging into a shelf and looking for that kind of stuff, but it's like, it does go as far as what you were saying. There's buckets in the game. There's a good example. There's buckets littered around, and the buckets are filled with little bits and pencils and glass cups and a bottle, and then there's an upgrade at the bottom, and you pick up the bucket and you lift it and you empty it out and you see everything just fall. You can use the bucket as a bucket. But
revolutionary technology of just watching items fall out of a bucket.
We have bucket technology. But it is silly to say out loud, but it is to the point of like, holy shit, you could, if you want, through that whole game, you could put all of the shit in a bucket and put your gun in a bucket. No, you can't put your gun in a bucket. Sorry, you have to change that. You can put your grenades in a bucket. You could carry around a bucket of grenades for the whole game, just for the laugh.
Can you carry the bucket around with you for the whole game?
I would like to believe that you can. I'm going to see if somebody did the bucket challenge.
The full immersion of Half-Life Alyx, where you carry all of your grenades and your ammo and everything you need in a bucket, and you bring that with you from the start of the game until the very end.
Okay. Carrying multiple grenades in a bucket will crash the game. But my point still stands. You can bring it around, and there are multiple items in the bucket. Maybe not too many items, but there's multiple items you can carry in a bucket. Maybe we'll get to full bucket potential technology in a couple of years. VR 2.
I can't wait. Can't wait to live the bucket dream.
VR 2 bucket technology is here.
Okay, all right. So I wanted to just kind of like quickly run over a couple of these other headlines. So next one I have here is the PS5 becomes the fastest selling console in the US. And part of that headline as well, Call of Duty returns to the top as best selling game. This is from Liana Rupert of Game Informer. This is posted on April 16, 2021. And just kind of read a little bit of this article. It goes on about the NPD sales numbers in the US for the Nintendo Switch and the PS5, and basically saying PS5 has come out on top in the US, and not only that, but that it has been the fastest selling console in history. Now, I don't think that's a big surprise. Not surprised at all. But I did want to kind of maybe point a finger at it, not point a finger at it, but kind of like bring attention to it, given the shortages. You know, like, I mean, I have a PS5. I don't think you said, but I presume you don't have one.
No.
But you know, it was kind of a thing where I was fully expecting to not own a PS5 until like at least, I don't know, September, November this year. I was fully just prepared, and I had accepted that. And
gone through the grieving process. It was done, it was dead, it was buried.
Yeah. So and I remember I was watching, like, I was paying attention to like stock trackers and everything. I was just like, and it was kind of thing of like I there was a Discord server that I had joined that would give me like, there was a bot that checked stock, and it would post to the Discord server when there was stock available. So I'd get the notification basically like, hey, there's stock available. And it was always the case where that you'd get that notification at like 3 a.m. and like it's gone in like less than a minute. It's just gone. And that was always the case. But I got lucky. It was actually a little, nearly 2 months ago now. It was the 8th of March actually, when I managed.
Are you enjoying it?
Okay, so that's actually, it's interesting. Okay, the short answer is yes. The long
you said
answer,
no, you would have made a lot of enemies.
fight me. The long answer is I so for the longest time, since pretty much since the 360, I think I have been. I wouldn't call myself an Xbox fanboy because, like, you know, fuck these fanboys and console wars and like I
That's
have
silly
no time.
kid stuff. Yeah.
I have no time for that conversation. Now that conversation would have been like that would have been a daily conversation that I would have had with, like, back when I was like 14 or whatever.
Xbox is better.
Yeah. But I don't have time for that shit anymore. But pretty much since the 360, I have been like, it kind of sounds weird to say. I don't know. I've always felt at home on the Xbox platform, and part of that is just like that's where I had all my games. You know, going from the 360 and then going into the Xbox One, and then the backwards compatibility that came in on the Xbox One. All of my 360 games were playable on the Xbox One.
Familiarity as well, like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the other so that was the first reason. I think the second reason was the biggest reason was the controller. I loved the 360 controller, and at the time, like, so obviously it was the PS3 at the time. Comparing the 6-axis or the DualShock 3 controller to the 360 controller, it's like night and day. That, like, I'm going to make a controversial statement. I fucking hate the DualShock controller.
It is so cheap feeling. It's ridiculous.
It is an abomination. I hate the DualShock controller with
Fuck those
passion.
thumbsticks.
You know, so and there was no real iteration going from, like, even the PS1 to the PS2 to the PS3. Like, I mean, the biggest innovation to the PS3 was, okay, there's an accelerometer and a gyroscope in the controller, and it's wireless. That was it. It's the exact same controller. And then moving into the next generation, then with the Xbox One and the PS4, the Xbox One controller, like, it improved, it adapted, it made that controller, like, slight tweaks, but made it, like, that much better, to the point now where, and again, it was probably like one of the bigger reasons I think why I kind of, like, stuck with Xbox, was it, like, that felt like a perfect controller to me. It was like, I don't know what else you could have done to that controller to make it better. And the DualShock, comparing the DualShock 4, okay, they changed the DualShock 4 from the DualShock 3, but still wasn't doing it for me. Now,
I mean, I have an Xbox One controller, and fantastic.
Thumbs up. But moving into the PS5, right? So considering that, like, I've always kind of been like, like, it was a case where, like, it wasn't that I was anti-PlayStation. Like, I mean, I had a PS4 and I played, I played God of War and a couple of other games there on the PlayStation. But the way I kind of felt was, if there was any game that was coming out on both, I'd get it on the Xbox, because I was like, I just prefer to play it there.
Preferably, yeah.
But now with the PS5, that DualSense controller, it is, like, I mean, I'm sure you've kind of heard all the kind of hubbub about it, but that controller is something else. Like, that is something. That controller is making me actively want to play more games on the PS5 than on my Xbox.
Okay.
Which, like, I mean, I never thought that was going to happen. Like, because, like, you've got like Game Pass and the backwards compatibility, and the Xbox, the controller that I thought was a perfect controller. And even going into the Xbox Series X, all they did was they added one extra button to that controller. They didn't do anything to it. Like, it's a perfect goddamn controller. But the DualSense is something else, and it's kind of something that, like you can, like, I mean, I can go on about this controller until the cows come home, and you can read all the reviews, and you can watch all the YouTubers kind of gush about this controller, but it's really something that you just kind of have to get in your hands. And when you feel that controller, and it's particularly the haptic feedback combined with those adaptive triggers, it's something else. And it has gotten me to want to play games on the PS5 more than I want to play them on the Xbox, which I never thought was going to happen. So to say that I'm enjoying the PS5, I think it's a bit of an understatement.
I mean, I've seen the controller up close. I didn't play with it. I literally just held it. I was over at I think it was maybe just around Christmas. I was popping over to somebody and they'd gotten it, and I was like, oh yeah, cool controller, and it's really nice feeling. God fucking damn, do I hate the fact that they put a microphone in it. No, look, you can have whatever personal preference you want about it. Beautiful looking controller. I've heard nothing but good things about the haptic feedback and the triggers and everything. Stop. don't
Stop it.
Start giving everybody fucking ideas, because once Sony were like, it's handy, right? Everybody's a microphone now for online games. I've heard from one person that has the PS5, she never used to talk in games, but now that it's built in, it's just giving her the chance to be a total fucking troll online. And that's all she's hearing is people that never had microphones just talking shit and in COD lobbies. I suppose it's going back to the way it was, but not as bad. But Sony kind of like slipped that in and was like, yeah, you get a microphone in your controller. How handy is that? I know you can turn it off and everything, but I just don't like it. I have a bad feeling Nintendo and Microsoft and whoever else are keeping an eye on that and are like, okay, they've accepted microphones in controllers. That's just a basis now, you know? I don't want that going forward. That's what worries me.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'll buy a nice headset for myself, you know?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think that's going to happen either. Like, you know, I think you and me are, like, I think we are that type to get a headset, I think, as opposed to just playing the controller. But I think you kind of raise a good point there, where having the microphone just be on the controller, because typically these, like, I'm pretty sure there were some models, I think, of the 360 that did come with a headset, but not all models of the 360 came with one. And I don't know about maybe the Xbox, maybe the launch Xbox One did, but further models didn't. Yeah, you know.
Oh, what they did come with was it became a regular thing, especially with Sony as well. They give out the mono, just like cheap little earphone that has the thing on it, and that must cost them what, like $1 to produce, or maybe a little bit more. But that's it's an option.
It is an option, and technically it does come bundled with it. But how many people do you think are actually going to use that?
I sure as shit did, until I realized that I'm gonna need to be talking on my PlayStation 4. So I bought a little, like, maybe a €25 headset, and I was like, okay, set up, done. That free headset in there gave me a taste if I wanted it or not, and if I didn't want it at that point, I could be like, okay, don't need to use it, feck it.
Okay, so that's actually, I would have assumed that like, I never used that little mono headset
not
thing.
Comfortable.
I would have assumed that most people just like would just like chuck it to the side. Don't need that. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I think having the microphone be part of the controller, I think it's just that kind of like ease of use. Like, it just kind of like opens that door up to people that like you said have never been part of that, have never done that, have never kind of like used voice as part of their games, and now it's like, oh, it's just right there, it's just part of the controller. But part of what you're saying about the worry there, it kind of I'm surprised that there hasn't been any, like, I mean, maybe Sony just kind of have their stuff together this time around, but it just kind of reminds me and harkens back to the launch of the PS4, when like there were lots of like articles and stories going around of people that like had their PS4 on in like rest mode or whatever, and at the time the PS4 came, like the launch version, I think, came with the camera, the PlayStation camera. No, I didn't get one of those versions, so I'm not 100% certain about that, but there were loads of like stories going around of people where like their PlayStation cameras were like recording them even when the PlayStation was off, and all of this. It was just picking up all sorts of stuff. So maybe Sony,
yeah, I'm sure
learned their lesson.
I mean, I thought this sort of a, yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate against myself, because I am for the side of like ease of use. The technology's there, it's cheap enough. Why not put it in a controller? But I thought this kind of a conversation already kind of happened with Microsoft when they were trying to say bundle the Xbox One, where you had to have the Kinect on and all connected to the internet the whole time. That was an issue of not only having a camera, but having a microphone on that has an option to turn it off, but it's still there, and you have to plug it into the console and have it powered up at least. It's like slippy slope with consoles, and I hate to be like that. I'm fucking being old man Jordan here, but slippy slope when you're sticking microphones into every little bit, and then there's security breaches with Sony every, what, like 3-4 years?
Yeah, it feels like that does happen quite often.
Because I remember the one with the PlayStation 3 with the Sony network. That was a huge hack, where they were getting credit cards and email addresses and names and everything just from the Sony, what was it called at the time? The Sony Entertainment Network or something?
Yeah, it might have been, I think.
Yeah,
probably early days before because I think there probably was a time before they rebranded it to the.
It was when it was
network.
Free, essentially, before like PlayStation Plus and that.
Yeah. But you raise a good point though with that. Part of this headline as well, talks about the PS5 breaking the records, but it also mentions about Call of Duty returning to the top as best-selling game, and I wanted to just kind of like, we don't spend too much time on that, but I wanted to just be like, what year is it? like, did you ever think that you would see the day where Call of Duty clawed its way back to the top of the best-selling list?
I really did think that it was going to die a couple of years. A couple of years ago when they started, amateurs copy, professionals steal, right? I get it. But when they started taking little mech suits and turning it into a Titanfall-esque game with like advanced warfare, and then there was the other one, and Kevin Spacey, he was in it, and it wasn't as good as Titanfall, and it didn't feel like Call of Duty either. So I thought at that time that was it. It was gone. But then it came fucking booming back with a battle royale, baby.
I think, so it's actually, so from my perspective, so anyway, I haven't played a Call of Duty since, oh god, Black Ops 1, I think. Probably the last one that I played. And like from my perspective looking at it, like, I mean, I remember at the time everyone was giving out about like Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare and all of these things, and and how it was like you're saying, like, I guess like a loss of identity. It wasn't Call of Duty anymore. It was just all this weird like space
not going into the future
stuff. People weren't happy about that, but I felt like it'd be interesting to, like, I'm not sure about the numbers, so I don't know when exactly. I presume the numbers started coming back when they launched Warzone. I'd say that was probably
that's a good guess.
The kind of kicker in, or the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back there, and kind of like brought everyone back into Call of Duty. But there were other kind of gems in there. Like, again, I haven't played them, but I remember World War II at the time was received quite well. Everybody, most people, I think, liked that game.
Wait, sorry, I was mixing that up with the one that I'd consider the good one. Would be World at War.
World at War, yeah, no. So so World War II, that I think came out between Infinite Warfare and Black Ops 4, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know the exact release schedule. It was a Sledgehammer one, I think. Was
Okay.
World War II. And I just remember at the time people were enjoying that one. But in terms of the Battle Royale, I know they Black Ops 4, because I remember this being a really weird thing, and this is when I thought the nail was in the coffin for Call of Duty, was with Black Ops 4, because they released Black Ops 4 with no campaign and only multiplayer. Now, okay, I know the multiplayer is what sells Call of Duty. I think I'm in the minority when I prefer the campaign over the multiplayer.
Yeah,
I think that is
we would be.
I'm in the minority there. But they released Black Ops 4 with no campaign and only multiplayer, and I might be wrong about that. They did have a version of a battle royale mode in Black Ops 4. I remember that being a thing, but that game that's when I considered Call of Duty to be dead. I was like, oh, they're not even putting the money into a campaign anymore.
Correct me if I'm wrong now. Did that come out full price as well?
I think so, yeah. Like full 60 for no campaign and only multiplayer. I don't know. Now it was Black Ops. I don't know if they had zombies in that one in Black Ops 4. My understanding is that it was only multiplayer.
I would have guessed it would have, but to be honest, I don't know. Yeah, that was one of the biggest. Right, I can see their logical thought process going through where it's like, okay, people buy COD, and the first thing that 80% of the people that buy it on day one, maybe 90%, they go onto multiplayer. Boom, straight away. And then out of whoever plays it during the COD's lifetime, I would guess quite a bit less than half would actually play the campaign at all. So they went, okay, logically, you cut off the campaign, you make multiplayer, but big map, and then we throw in a couple of modes and we sell it full price. That's all the people want. And then it came out, and then everyone went, the multiplayer is not good in this, and there's no single player. So you're cutting off whatever 10, 20, 30% of your audience anyway for single player, and you've upset the multiplayer people. So yeah, that was probably a good point for COD to die, but they came back from the dead, and isn't Warzone free? Is
Warzone? Yeah, Warzone is free. So Warzone was released. It came. So they did the Modern Warfare. I don't know if it's remake, reboot.
It's a reboot, I think.
Okay, so they released that, and Warzone came out like slightly after that, a couple of months after that, I think. But it's like the same. Like Warzone, I think, is just Modern Warfare multiplayer. I think.
You know.
Like, without like team deathmatch or whatever, like it's just the battle royale version, I think, or whatever. But the Warzone game mode is within the Modern Warfare multiplayer as well.
That was a good step. That was a nice correction from what they were doing, and it worked so well that it tricked me. I bought Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 because I got the free Warzone. And I played it, and I was like, wow, the shooting mechanics are okay. And this kind of scratches that little itch that you get where you're like, fuck, I just want to play a mindless FPS. I don't want to even think about it. Just a run and gun, just a bit of a military thing. And then they started updating it. And updating it. And updating it. And it broke what? I think did it break the 200 gig mark?
So that's actually, I think it was a while ago now. There was a headline going around where basically Warzone alone, not even the campaign, Warzone itself will not fit on is it a launch PS4? I think. It's more than 250 gigs.
That is fucking silly. That is beyond silly, right? And I looked into it as well because I was so annoyed by it, because I was maybe halfway through the campaign, right? I was taking my time, playing a little bit of Warzone. I'm not really into the multiplayer of it, I'll be honest. It was grand. I played more of the like team deathmatch multiplayer than I did the Warzone, and I enjoyed that for a while. It was a bit of fun. I was halfway through the campaign, and I had a separate hard drive that I couldn't put fucking anything on. Like, nothing. It was just dedicated to this one game, and it kept on getting updates, and then it was like, you have to use battle.net. I just fucking got rid of it. Sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. So
throw it in the trash.
Fuck you, COD, again. You tricked me. You tricked me. You got me back. Yeah.
But yeah, that's actually I recently, it was kind of going back to PS5 a little bit. It was actually on sale on the PlayStation Store, and I actually did pick it up because that's something we can maybe, if we have time, we can kind of tie this into something later on. But Call of Duty is one of those games that I kind of know is notoriously never on sale, and is just always full price. And even games that even the Call of Duty games that came out like fucking 10 years ago are still full price.
You might be lucky to get them at about €20.
Yeah,
lucky.
Not even €20, 20% off. Lucky. Like, games are never on sale, always full price. But Modern Warfare was on sale, I think, for something like 35% off. I picked it up for close to €40 or something like that. So that might be something that I give a go maybe some point soon. So probably report back with my thoughts on that. Yeah, so there was one thing here, like, I mean, we can talk about it if you want. So like, it's kind of a non-story, but it's kind of just relating to kind of games being full price. During the week, or sometime last week, there was John Garvin, who was the game director for Days Gone. But he's no longer with Ben Studio anymore. But he was on David Jaffe's podcast, I think. David Jaffe would have been one of the creators of the original God of War. And there was so like, I mean, it was a full, like, I don't know, something like 4-hour show, some ridiculous, where I haven't watched it all or whatever. But I have watched the kind of, I watched the segment that got kind of picked up, and it did the rounds. Basically, he said that the quote is, if you love a game, buy it at fucking full price. And like, I mean, I don't want to dwell on it, and I don't want to like, I don't want to be like, fuck this guy or whatever, because like I don't think he was trying to like be like, hey, if you buy a game on sale, fuck you. Like, I don't think that's what he was trying to say. I think it was just in light of, like, this is kind of coming off the heels of a separate story where it came out that a Days Gone sequel was pitched to Sony and Sony shot it down. And obviously, I get, like, Days Gone just didn't make enough money for them to warrant a sequel, and it got, like, I think it was a 71 on Metacritic, maybe, I'm not sure. And it, like, you know, so the reviews didn't review well at launch, basically. So, and like, I mean, that makes sense. And I think that's what what John Garvin was trying to say, is that he's just like, if a game doesn't make its money at launch, of course there's not going to be a sequel. And I think that's kind of what he was saying. But given that this blew up, and given the choice of wording, I just kind of wanted to, it's something that I kind of wanted to talk about, because I think the last game that I bought full price would have been, so it's kind of a bad example because it's actually fairly recent. It was it's the Spider-Man Miles Morales on PS5 the version that came with the Spider-Man remaster. So it was something like, I don't know, like €70 or whatever, but it came with those two games, and I hadn't played the original Spider-Man beforehand, so I was getting two new games essentially for that price. So I was able to justify that.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. In my head, I was like, that's worth it. That's two like PS5 fucking games for this price, like, you know, roughly like 40 quid each. You know, that was worth it to me. But like, I have like a rule just to myself. 70 euro, 80 euro is too goddamn expensive for a single game.
Way too fucking much.
I know the games are getting a lot more expensive to make these days, especially when we're talking the likes of a Days Gone or a Last of Us or a God of War. You know, these big AAA games that are just like blockbuster spectacles. Those games they're taking a lot longer to make. They're taking like thousands of people to work on them, so you know that obviously like that cost obviously racks up. You know, so like from that perspective, I don't know that it justifies it, but I understand why games are so expensive. But fuck me, am I paying like 70 euro for it's not even like it's like 70 euro for a single game. That's what I can't kind of wrap my head around, because they used to be like 50 euro. And I just can't justify spending more than 40 euro on a single game. That's the thing. Like I'll happily spend like up to like 200 euro if I'm getting like, you know, like 6, 7, 8 game, like, you know, or 100 euro for like 4 games. Like maybe that's cool. Like, you know, I feel like I'm getting some kind of value there. But what's your kind of opinion? Is what like I think I know your opinion on are games too expensive, but are games too expensive these days? What was the last game? What was the last game that you bought? Now I say full price, but what I kind of mean there is the 70 to 80 euro kind of mark that we're at these days.
Right. The funny thing about that is the last full price game that I bought, I think it was 70 when it released, was SpiderMan for PS4.
Okay.
when that came out, I pre-purchased that.
Okay, so you pre-purchased it as well. Okay.
That was probably the one game that I pre-purchased in the last, at a guess, 5 years, maybe more. I never pre-purchase games. I rarely buy into early access games unless I know it's going to be solid, right? So yeah, I went in for that. Now, for your man's quote, what's the guy's name?
John Garvin.
John, right?
Are you listening, John?
Are you, John? I'm calling you out. I understand where he's coming from. It's a creative project. There's lots of people working on it. Takes a lot of time, especially nowadays. Games are getting up to film level or are approaching in terms of story writing, cast, voice acting, and graphics. Just off the top of my head, I don't agree with him totally in saying, like, no, right? If you do love a game, if you absolutely love a game franchise and you love the makers of it, if it's an indie studio or a big one or a developer, single person, whatever, by all means, I think they should have a stream of income if you would like to kind of pay what you want above market price. I don't know if it's fair to say that you shouldn't buy games on sale necessarily. But like I loved the Walking Dead Telltale games. Absolutely loved them. Played the first one when it came out, season 1. If that didn't get a sequel, I would have been horribly upset, because that's one of my favorite games. Just if it came out and it didn't make enough money, I'd be pretty upset about that as well. That's fair. I don't think that's the only reason Days Gone 2 didn't get picked up. If it's somebody's favorite game, fair enough, there should be an avenue that you can go, oh, I like that developer. I'm going to pay whatever, the $60, and then I'm going to go onto the website and do this thing for $20. I get an exclusive thing, not necessarily a DLC, but I get this thing, and it's like a patronage, like Patreon for game developers. But as far as I remember, when Days Gone came out, I saw nothing but, fair enough if it was for the first while, but it was for a while, nothing but glitch gifs from the game and the game bugging out, or for example, spawn pools of zombies just messing up in game and that kind of thing. And that put me off buying it at all. And even on sale, I was going to buy it for a tenner, but then I thought, you know what, it's probably, well, from what I saw of it, I don't want to get into it. So I think him saying that coming off the back of Days Gone 2 getting cancelled because of poor sales, not the full story, I don't think.
So like you bring up a couple of things here that I wanted to touch on, right? So the first thing you mentioned about was pre-purchasing SpiderMan.
Mm-hmm.
So you bought that before it came out, and then the other thing is about you saw all the glitches that were coming with Days Gone, and you kind of like, nah, you put you off the game, right?
Yep.
So we'll try and not spend too much time on this, but kind of steer this into Cyberpunk, right?
Okay.
So obviously there's a whole, everyone and their mother knows everything that's going on with Cyberpunk. Probably the
Never heard of it.
Biggest,
no.
the biggest, most anticipated game of the last year, and probably the worst received game of last year, maybe. But so when it comes to Cyberpunk, for instance, that was a game where I was like, yeah, you talk about, okay, yeah, I know this developer, I know that they do good work, I know this game is going to be good. Yeah, all right, I'm in on this. Whatever this is, I'm in. Okay. Now I didn't buy or pre-purchase. Like I haven't played Cyberpunk, didn't buy it. Whatever. I didn't pre-order it. But I was like, in my head, I was like, this is gonna be good. it's CD Projekt Red. It's they did The Witcher, and it's fucking Cyberpunk. It's gonna be great. But all of those glitches and everything that went on with that game at launch absolutely 100% put me off. Now, forget about the fact that the game isn't even purchasable on the PlayStation Store right now. It's still not there anymore. You still can buy it on Microsoft Store, and you still can buy it on Steam. I presume it's still there. But I still haven't gone back to it just because I'm like, I'll wait until that game is done. But I like, it's like we'll not spend too much time on this, I suppose. But do you think, like, so just to kind of compare there, obviously it's not on the same level as Cyberpunk. Like, Days Gone actually ran on the PS4,
which
it actually good job, it ran.
Good job, John.
But like, did you pre-order Cyberpunk?
I had all faith in CD Projekt Red, but I am a pessimistic person, and I had written off Cyberpunk as dead and gone before it came out, because of delays plus hype will always equal disappointment. In my opinion, majority of the time. There was a guy I was working with, Adam, who had been talking about that game nonstop, and I was all for his opinion. He can be excited and look forward to it. But I told him, you're hyping it, not only for yourself, but you can hype it as much as you want. You will be disappointed. And that's what I said to him. And I'm not happy that it came out bad. I never completed it, but I had such a good time in The Witcher 3. What a fucking deep game, so good. Without going on too long about it, I want to throw one more game in that mix of our discussion. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky launched in 2016, built upon promises and vague descriptions of its experience, like multiplayer and certain other things, that it didn't live up to. It was a failure at launch. There were people that clung to it and enjoyed it. The majority of people that were looking forward to it, I think, were disappointed. That has been continuously updated for the last 5 years and only got another massive update like last month, and I'm playing that now. They took the time and the care to not only fix the game that they promised they'd make in the first place, but do it all for free to the people that had it already, and build upon that. You know, so that's the other side of it. You know, Cyberpunk can come around, but that hype and that the delays and the mystery of the untold promises in marketing of gaming is what destroyed that game. You know, people built it up as a real life simulator where you could literally do anything, when that's never what it was going to be. It was going to be a really, really cool game that got built up too much.
I think you've hit the nail on the coffin there. It is like when like that game was in, like, yeah, we'll wrap up quickly, yeah, just because we're running short on time here. But like that game was announced in 2013,
yeah, 13,
something like that. You know, and it was at E3 like 3 years in a row or something.
It was at E3 when E3 was a thing, when it was popular. Yeah. That'll tell you how old it is.
You know, so like that's yeah, that's too much hype. That's too much marketing for any game. I you know, I like to always point back to like whenever I kind of think about this stuff, I love to think back to 2015 with E3 2015, Bethesda's E3 conference, where everyone was like, what are they going to talk about? I don't know what they're going to talk about. And then they opened the conference like, hey, Fallout 4. And then they spend the whole conference talking about Fallout 4. And they're like, oh, by the way, it's out at the end of this year. And it's like, mic drop, just boom, like
done.
That's how you announce a game. You don't talk. You stay radio and silent. You don't announce it. You don't talk about, like, you just, even like Fallout. It's kind of like, I suppose it's kind of like the Half-Life 3 thing. It's all.
Let's tie it back to Half-Life.
It's like we need another Fallout. We need another Fallout. Fallout 4. When? And then it's like, only talk about it once it's ready to come in. Like that is like, I still remember as one of the best E3 moments, because they had, not only was it an announcement, but they had all the shit to show you as well. They spent their whole conference talking about Fallout 4, and then at the end, oh, it's out at the end of this year. Like that's how you announce a game.
It's the visual equivalent of Todd Howard just walking down the street casually with his hands in his pockets, and you go, oh my god, is that Todd Howard? I haven't thought of a Fallout game. When is the next? And he just flicks a Fallout game at you. He's like, here, kid, take that. It's just like, that's cool. It's simple. Comes out very soon, and they've shit to show. That's how you fucking launch a game.
I'm kind of upset that they didn't do that with Elder Scrolls 6, but you know, we'll kind of we'll get to that maybe another time. So yeah, we gotta finish up on this. If you've been listening and you're still listening, thank you very much.
Thank you
very much. This is we're gonna try and do this weekly. Trying to release these weekly podcast episodes. I don't know when this is actually going to go up. I'll try and get this up quickly if I can. I also don't know, little behind the scenes, we're recording video. I don't know whether video is going to come out just yet, but we're recording it. It's a thing. Just in case, maybe someday. But keep your ears peeled, and
don't close those ears.
Keep them open, goddammit.
That's going to be my thing now. That's my catchphrase. Don't close those ears.
Don't close those ears. So yeah, if there's anything here that you want to chime in on, this kind of sloppy conversation of a podcast.
Thanks for thank you to the listener for drinking in our audio soup into your mouth, ears. Keep those ears open.
Listener Joe.
Listener Joe. I'm so glad to be talking to you, Joe. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan. I had a good time. Yeah, if you want to hear any more, let us know somehow. We don't know how yet, but let us know.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
There'll be some kind of information.
Come back
wherever
to
you're
the
finding
same
this
spot where
podcast.
you found the first one and wait for the second one, and we'll tell you.
Where, if people want to find out more of what you're doing, where can people find you, Jordan? What do you do?
I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/NotYourDadEO, as in the letters EO. That will be changing soon, so yeah, you'll find out. And then YouTube, Not Your Dad. It's a picture of a little squirrel. You'll see a little squirrel. That's me.
Is it a squirrel? I thought it was a hedgehog.
Oh shit! It is a hedgehog. I just said it was a squirrel. No, don't go to the squirrel one. That's the wrong one.
Hansel.
No, it's the hedgehog. Yes, it's a small hedgehog. I'm not an actual hedgehog. That's just my picture.
Okay. And if you want to find out more what I'm doing, there's not really a whole lot at the moment, but I guess you can follow me on Twitter if you're so inclined at Evan OD. It's EVANOHDEE. That'll do it for us.
Well, that was fun.
I suppose this week. And we'll see you next. No, we won't see you, but you'll hear us probably.
You'll see us next week. Hear us. We'll be on one of your senses next week. Is that weird? Is that a weird? Edit that part.
No, that's it. That's it.
That's it. Cut it. Cut.